Good evening, welcome along to this week's Women's Football Chat. My name is Chris Gadsby. I'm here every week bringing you the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England. That's the FA Women's National League. And after a County Cup weekend, we haven't got a huge amount to go through on this week's show, so it might be a little bit shorter than the hour that we have been having in recent weeks. We will start though with the news, and that comes this week from the Northern Premier Division on both counts. We will start with Burnley, currently fourth in the table, and their head coach Rebecca Suiak has left. With immediate effect. Burnley Football Club can confirm that they have mutually agreed to part ways with women's team head coach Rebecca Sawyuk with immediate effect. Since joining the club in July 2023, Sawyuk has played a pivotal role guiding the team to its highest ever league finish and securing the Lancashire Senior Cup title during last season. Her tenure in Lancashire included managing the team at Turf Moor on 5 occasions, culminating in a National League Cup quarter-final appearance earlier this season. The head of women's football, Lola Ogumbute, commented, "I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Rebecca for her dedication and contributions to her time with us. Over the past 20 months, we have created some fantastic memories together. It's undeniable that she has instilled an exciting attacking style of play and positive culture within the team. I wish her all the best in her future endeavours. Our commitment to women's football at Burnley remains unwavering. Our immediate focus is on the upcoming fixtures this season, starting with our match against West Brom this weekend. Louise Roberts will assume the interim head coach position until the end of the season." So, Burnley currently fourth in the table, 4 games to go, 8 points off the top of the Northern Premier Division table, and now without a head coach. So they will be focusing on finishing the season as well as they can and getting somebody in for the start of next season. Other news then from the Northern Premier Division. This one comes from the FA Women's National League. Disciplinary outcome relating to Stourbridge. You'll remember a few weeks ago Stourbridge was supposed to play Nottingham Forest, weren't able to do so because of illness in their camp, they said. And the FA Women's National League board has come to their disciplinary outcome regarding a charge issued to Stourbridge earlier this month. They were charged with failing to fulfil that fixture against Nottingham Forest on Sunday the 2nd of March. The board have found that the charge is proven. They have deducted a point from Stourbridge, imposed a £250 fine and ordered the game to be rescheduled. The rescheduling date for the fixture will be published on full time in due course. At time of recording, it is not on full time. However, it is on the 20th of April. So it'll be Forest's penultimate game of the season, which as it stands at the moment may result in being the game that they get themselves promoted to the championship. So that is the news really from the last 7 days. Excuse me, Cat wants to be let out of the room. Oh, Cat has made her own way out of the room. Manages to hook the door open. So we will move straight on to the results from the past 7 days. As I said, there's not a huge amount to go through here because of it was County Cup weekend, so there was very little. There was most in the Northern Premier Division. 4 games. Hull City 2, Stourbridge 1. Rachel Ackroyd and Helen Linsky with the goals for Hull City. Stourbridge with a goal just before half-time to Freya Clark. Forest win the East Midlands Derby by 2-0 over Derby County. Pair of goals for Charlie Wellings, 34th and 56th minute. Rugby Borough 2, Sporting Cowser 2. Great point for Sporting Cowser, this one. Rugby with 2 for May Moncaster in the 30th and the 81st. They went from 1-0 up to 2-1 down. Layla Kennelly and Laura Smith with the goals for Sporting Cowser before May Moncaster got that equaliser again for Rugby. And Burnley beating West Brom by 3-0. But their information is not yet on full time. They have had a lot going on with the parting ways with their head coach. Northern Premier Division table then, after those 4 games, you can see towards the bottom the significance there of Stourbridge getting that point deducted. They are now 9 points away from safety and with a much worse goal difference. So you're talking really 10 points away from safety with 15 left available, with still Rugby Borough and Nottingham Forest to play. So difficult for Stourbridge now to see how they are going to get themselves out of that trouble in the Northern Premier Division. Significant 3 points for Hull in winning that game. They are now 11 points clear of Stourbridge. They are 15 points clear of Halifax. Halifax with 6 games to go, Stourbridge with 5. Hull, well, yeah, I mean, they probably did enough a while ago, but that has almost made it certain now that Hull have done enough to stay in the Northern Premier Division, as have Sporting Cowser after their promotion. They are, as I said, 9 clear of Stourbridge. Towards the top, Burnley stay where they are. They're 8 points away from Forest at the top of the table after their win over West Brom. Forest are 5 clear now of Wolverhampton Wanderers after playing and winning that game in hand. 5 points clear with 4 games to go for Carly Davies' side. It's Hull City at home, Liverpool Feds away, Stourbridge away and West Bromwich Albion at home. They need to get 7 points, or 8 points really, from those 4 games. And they are all playing sides at the bottom half of the table, apart from Liverpool Feds. They've got 7th, 9th and 11th. It's very difficult now to see how Forest do not go into the Championship next season. And they've got the Cup final coming up this weekend, which we'll get onto later on. Southern Premier Division results then. 3 games to talk about here. Ipswich Town beating Gwalior United by 2-0. Cheltenham Town beating AFC Wimbledon 2-1. And Watford convincingly beating Plymouth by 5-0. So we'll have a look at those results in the Southern Premier Division once Full Time decides that it wants to behave. So Southern Premier Division then. Ipswich Town a 2-0 win over Gwalior, as I've said. 2 goals there for Sophie Peskett, 30th and 83rd minute. Cheltenham Town beating Wimbledon 2-1 despite going down to 10, although that was very late on. Unaloo in the 18th minute put Cheltenham in front. Ashley Hinks equalised for AFC Wimbledon just before the half-hour mark, and then Henna Butcher just before half-time made it 2-1 to Cheltenham. And Watford convincingly beating Plymouth by 5-0. Jessie Gale in the 7th minute, Florence Fife in the 12th, Bianca Baptiste in the 15th, Lucy Lyon in the 22nd, and Madison Perry in the 81st. So Watford storming away to a 4-0 lead inside the first 25 minutes, and then there was no hope for Plymouth to come back in that game. Southern Premier Division table then, little bit of movement here with Watford going up to 4th after that win. Oxford of course not playing, so Watford joint on points with Oxford United in 5th, but Watford up to 4th, and Cheltenham above Gwalior United now up to 8th with their victory over Wimbledon and Gwalior's loss to Ipswich Town. So situation, Ipswich Town are 3 points away from #United at the top of the table, but they have 2 games in hand. They have 5 left to play in total, so they are still in the driver's seat at the moment. Exeter City are 6 points back from the top of the table with only 3 games to go. Looks as though it's going to be too much for Exeter City. But a great first year in the Southern Premier Division for them. Down towards the bottom is where it's tight. Cheltenham have done themselves a world of good getting those 3 points at the weekend. They are now 4 clear of the relegation zone, which is currently occupied by Plymouth Argyle, who have Ipswich, Wimbledon and Gwalior still to play. So Cheltenham, you might fancy, have done enough now to stay in the Southern Premier Division. Billericay Town are 10th. They have 3 games to go as well. Lewis away, Oxford at home, Wimbledon away. Lewis 6th, Oxford 5th, Wimbledon 7th. Mid-table teams that Billericay Town have got to take on. Gwalior United probably the most difficult of the run-ins. Hashtag United at home, Ipswich away, Watford away. So first, second and fourth before playing Plymouth Argyle on the final day of the season. It is viable that game on the final day of the season is the decider for which side gets relegated. So it is going to be tight towards the end of the Southern Premier Division. Right, there were no games in Division 1 Midlands this weekend, so we shall move straight to Division 1 North. Middlesbrough 4, Norton and Stockton Ancients 0. Good win for Middlesbrough. Millie Bell, Leanna Giles, Armani Maxwell and Ellen Packham with their goals. And Stockport County 3, AFC Fylde 0. 1 for Jessica Brady early on in the 18th minute and 2 for Natalie Watson 77th and 80th minute. Means that Stockport County get an important 3 points for them in their fight against the drop. So Division 1 North table, I should say. So as I say, only 2 games. Middlesbrough have pulled themselves level with Cheadletown Stingers at the top of the table. Only goal difference is separating those two sides with 3 games to go. Cheadletown Stingers, Norton at home, Huddersfield away and Fylde at home. Middlesbrough have Durham away, Doncaster Rovers Bells at home and Barnsley away. It is viable that both sides win all 3 of those games. Therefore, it is also viable that the goal difference may be the same, and then it comes down to goals scored. Currently, goals scored is also the same for both of those sides. So that is going to go right down to the wire between Cheadle and Middlesbrough. Chorley now, they are 6 points back with only 4 games to go. It would take a couple of really big slip-ups for them to drag themselves back into it. But as we've said in Division 1 North for many weeks now, the bottom is where the interest is. However, that has started to split in recent times. Stockport County up a place to 7th now after that win against AFC Fylde. They are 9 points clear of Doncaster Rovers with 3 games left to play. So Stockport County are essentially safe. It would take a big goal difference swing to overturn that as well. So Doncaster Rovers Bells, they take on AFC Fylde this weekend. Huge game towards the bottom. The loser of that game is very likely to go down. I'll just double check that. So if Fylde lose, then it depends on what Norton and Stockton Ancients do, but it will be a big upswing for them. So Doncaster Rovers Bells against Fylde this weekend, then Middlesbrough and Huddersfield. So Doncaster Rovers probably might only get points from this game against AFC Fylde, in which case that's already too late for them. They will have to get something against Middlesbrough or Fylde as well. Middlesbrough or Huddersfield as well, should I say. Fylde are 5 points away from the drop. They've got Doncaster this weekend, of course. Durham Cester at home and then Cheadletown Stingers away. They need 6 points from those remaining 3 games. Therefore, they need to beat Doncaster this weekend. Norton Stockton Ancients are now 4 points clear of the drop. They have Cheadletown away, York City away, Barnsley at home and Chorley at home. As the weeks go on, it looks more likely that the current bottom 2 will be the ones to drop out of the FAWNL. But of course, anything can happen. This is football. Right, just 2 games left then. 1 game in Division 1 South East with Real Bedford beating Ashford Town by 2 goals to 0. And I mean, that doesn't really tell the whole story there, because they left it late, did Real Bedford. Amber Gaylor in the 87th minute and Abby Benstead in the 89th minute with the goals there for Real Bedford. So a 2-0 win, but very late on. Ashford nearly getting a very good point in their battle against the drop. However, that result does mean that they are now 13 points behind Chesham United with 5 games to go. They have to now be perfect in order to survive. Chatham Town at home, QPR at home, London Seaward at home, London Bees away, and Actonians at home. And that is providing, of course, that Cheshire United don't get anything from their remaining 3 games. Real Bedford at home, Chatham Town away, and London Bees at home. So Cheshire have got to play 3 of the top 4 in their final 3 games. So it is viable that they don't get any more points. Is it viable that Ashford suddenly go on a 5-game winning streak to turn it around? Probably not. It's likely that that gets sorted this weekend. Towards the top then, the only other change to the league table, Real Bedford now with a game in hand over Norwich City, and they are 4 points clear at the top of the table. They have with their 4 games to go, Cheshire United away, AFC Sudbury away, London Seawood at home, Dulwich Hamlet away. Norwich City's maximum is now 47 points. So Real Bedford need 2 wins from their remaining 4 games. And with the best will in the world to Cheshire United, who are currently down in 10th, and London Seawood, who are 12th and already relegated, that is most likely where those 2 wins are going to come from, even if AFC Sudbury cause a draw. And that is assuming that Norwich City go perfect for the remainder of the season. They take on 3rd place London Bees this weekend before facing Actonians, who are 5th, and QPR, who are 6th. So much more difficult run-in for Norwich, and they're coming from a long way back. And they need Real Bedford to slip up 3 times in the last 4 games in order for them not to go into the Southern Premier Division. Real Bedford unbeaten so far this season. Are they suddenly going to lose 3 out of the last 4 to teams flirting with relegation or already relegated? Probably not. Right, and then Division 1 South West, 2 games to talk about here. Forgot about the one that was last night. Bournemouth Sports beating Southampton Women's by 2-0. First minute and 28th minute, both to Olivia Palmer. And then last night, AFC Bournemouth beating Moneyfields by 2-1. Moneyfields having a 94th minute penalty saved in that game to cause a draw, and that was so close to breaking AFC Bournemouth's 100% record, but that does remain. 17 games, 51 points. They are now 7 points clear of Moneyfields in second. If Bournemouth win this weekend, they will have the Division 1 Southwest title. And then the other movement down towards the bottom, then Bournemouth Sports up to 9th. They are now 3 points clear of the relegation zone after that win over Southampton Women's, which has relegated them to Tier 5 for the 25-26 season. They had to win that game. They didn't, and they are now relegated. And from a personal point of view, the one pleasing thing about that is that the deduction of the 1 point that they received right towards the start of the season has not had an effect on the final league table. Everything has been decided on the pitch in Division 1 Southwest, which might not be the case in the Southern Premier Division. However, that transpires over the next few weeks. So those are the results from the last 7 days. As I said, not a huge amount to go through because of the County Cup weekend. So let's take a look at the fixtures. Plenty could happen this weekend. We'll start in the Northern Premier Division, where there are only 4. Halifax against Liverpool Feds. Now Halifax down in 12th, Liverpool Feds in 6th. If Halifax lose that game, it is possible they get relegated this weekend. If Sporting Cowser are able to get something, a win really, from the game against Hull City, that would leave Halifax 15 points. Okay, they wouldn't be relegated this weekend. My apologies. I'm trying to do this maths on the fly. Can you tell? Because they would be at most 15 points away from safety with 5 games to go, but the goal difference would be significantly worse. So Halifax will survive for another week, as will Stourbridge. When they host Rugby Borough, even if they lose, they will survive for another week. And then Wolverhampton Wanderers taking on West Bromwich Albion in the big derby there. Wolves, this is a game that Forest aren't playing, so Wolves will have played 19. They will give Forest a game in hand back and then still not catch them. But that is a must-win for Wolves. If they fail to win that game, then it is pretty much almost certain that Forest will have the league title. As it stands at the minute, Forest still only, if they draw, if they draw or lose, it does make it interesting in their running. But Wolves absolutely must win that game against West Bromwich Albion. No action for Burnley, no action for Derby County, Stoke City or Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest against Stoke City. The FAWNL Cup final from Walsall, 3:30 kickoff. If you want live commentary of that game, BBC Radio Nottingham the place to be. 103.8 FM and 95.5 FM in the Nottingham region. Digital radio and online, the place wherever you are in the country. I will be there bringing you that game alongside the former Forest League and Cup winner Charlotte Steggles, now playing for Derby County for that game. And she should be able to give us a great insight not only into what it was like to win the League and Cup with Forest a couple of years ago, but also, of course, was on the pitch when Forest beat Derby on Sunday. So we'll know quite a bit about how Forest like to play their football this season. So that's going to be a great afternoon. Join us from 3:15 roughly ahead of that game on BBC Radio Nottingham. Right, Southern Premier Division then. There are actually 7 games because there's one in midweek. So Exeter City against Cheltenham Town. Cheltenham Town down in 8th, Exeter City in 3rd. Gwalior against #United, 9th against 1st. Ipswich Town take on Plymouth, that's 2nd against 11th. Lewis against Billericay Town is 6th against 10th. Milton Keynes Dons against AFC Wimbledon, 12th against 7th. The big, obviously, Milton Keynes Dons, AFC Wimbledon kind of rivalry there. And then Oxford United against Watford, 5th against 4th. And then on Wednesday, AFC Wimbledon against Watford, which is currently 7th against 4th. Of course, it might not be after the weekend. But yeah, so nothing can really be decided this weekend. I mean, Plymouth can't go down this weekend, sorry. So yeah, it just might be a bit more clearer with only 2 games to go after that as to what exactly the table will look like. Now, the reason I say the Southern Premier Division might be decided by things off the pitch is, of course, with the 3 points taken away from Billericay Town and given to Gwalior United for that ineligible player back in November. If you imagine here, Gwalior United with 3 points less than they have now, they would be currently in 10th on 16. Billericay Town would be on 20 points. They'd have a 4-point gap and would be able to make themselves maybe safe this weekend. So there's plenty, it might come down to maybe Gwalior United and Billericay Town both survive and Plymouth Argyle get relegated. But Plymouth Argyle might look at it and go, if they finished within 2 points of Gwalior United, then it's that is what has resulted in Plymouth's relegation. So plenty in the Southern Premier Division. Say Ipswich and #United, you would imagine will both win this weekend, so that gap you would think will stay the same and it will go even further into the season. Division 1 Midlands, 6 games to go through here. Lincoln United against Peterborough United, that is 9th against 3rd. Loughborough Lightning take on Barnsley Women's, 1st against 6th. Northampton Town against Lincoln City, 2nd against 12th. Notts County against Boldmere St Michael's, 7th against 5th. Worcester City against Sutton Coldfield Town is 10th against 8th. And Leaford Athletic take on Solihull Moors, 4th against 11th. Coronation Park is where Switch Sport is going to be this weekend. Notts County against Boldmere St Michael's. And of course, it's possible this weekend that both, actually, Solihull Moors and Lincoln City get relegated. Lincoln City are 8 points away from safety with 9 on the table, so they have to win against Northampton Town, who of course are now tied at the top with Loughborough Lightning. That's going to be very difficult for Lincoln City to avoid the drop. Solihull Moors, if they lose to Leafield Athletic and Worcester City beat Sutton Coldfield Town, then Solihull Moors will also be relegated this weekend. So towards the top, nothing can be decided yet so far from what we've gone through, but at the bottom, a lot can be done this weekend. Division 1 North, Barnsley against Leeds United, Cheadle Stingers against Norton and Stockton Ancients. So Barnsley in 8th, Leeds in 4th, Cheadle top of the table, Norton down in 10th. Chorley against Stockport County, Chorley in 3rd, Stockport County in 7th. Doncaster Rovers Bells against AFC Fylde. The bottom two go head to head. Now, the loser of that is almost certainly going to get relegated, but neither can be confirmed this weekend unless Norton and Stockton Ancients and York City both win, and then like maybe it's a draw between Doncaster and Fylde. That would relegate Fylde. If Fylde win, Doncaster could go down. So it is possible, but perhaps not likely, given that Norton are away to top of the table Cheadle Town, and York City are at home to 5th place Huddersfield Town. The other game, North East Derby, Durham Sestra against Middlesbrough, 6th against 2nd, as that fight at the top of the table continues. Division 1 South East then, Ashford Town against Chatham Town, Cambridge United against AFC Sudbury, Cheshire United against Real Bedford, Dulwich Hamlet take on Queen's Park Rangers, London Seaward against Actonians, Norwich City against London Bees, and then on Wednesday Ashford Town take on Queen's Park Rangers. So by next week's show, it's almost certain that Ashford Town, unless they beat Chatham Town and Queen's Park Rangers, will be relegated out of Division 1 South East. Real Bedford against Cheshire United, great opportunity for them to increase that gap on Norwich City, who are taking on London Bees. It is possible that if London Bees beat Norwich City, they will move to 38 points, as will Norwich. Real Bedford then beat Chesham. They will move to 45 and win Division 1 South East this weekend. So it is possible for Real Bedford to win the title this weekend if the result between Norwich City and London Bees goes their way. As I said, then towards the bottom as well, if Ashford Town fail to beat Chatham Town, then they will be confirmed as the other side relegated from Division 1 South East. And Division 1 South East could all be done. Unless, and let's throw a spanner in the works, but remember that big unless. I'll do Division 1 South West first, and then we will get to that. Division 1 South West then. Bridgewater United against Keynsham Town is 7th against 6th. Abingdon United against Worthing is 10th against 4th. AFC Bournemouth against Bristol Rovers. Bournemouth can seal the title this weekend with a win, 1st against 5th. Maidenhead United against Swindon Town, 8th against 3rd. And Moneyfields against Bournemouth Sports is 2nd against 9th. So Portishead Town can't be relegated this weekend. So let me just have a look at a couple of things, because I was pretty sure there's one thing I want to look at, which was I thought there was a Thursday game this week. There is, but I didn't see it on my list there. Hull City against Halifax. Did I not put that on the list? No, I didn't. Right. Northern Premier Division on Thursday, Hull City take on Halifax. That means that next week's women's football chat will come out on Friday, just because I want that game to be done. It could be significant, particularly if a Hull City win would mean Halifax get relegated. So I definitely want that game to have taken place before I do the show next week. So the show will be on Friday next week. Now then, let's get to the big news in terms of promotions and relegations. It comes from the FAWNL. It has been confirmed, and I will find the exact wording of it for you if I can. But it has been confirmed that there will be a reprieve for a possible team in 11th. I can't find it on FAWNL. Just give me 2 seconds, because I know where I can find it, which is from the marvellous Talking Woso account. Craig does a remarkable job with that. So, due to relegation Due to Reading FC's withdrawal prior to the start of the 24-25 season, you'll remember that all the way back in August, only one team will be relegated from the Women's Championship to the FAWNL at the end of the season. Consequently, one of the Northern or Southern Premier Divisions will not receive a team relegated from the Championship. As a result, the 11th place team in that division will be offered a reprieve from relegation. The same will apply in one division at Tier 4. So, as it stands at the moment, after Portsmouth won at the weekend, I'll just get the championship table up. Portsmouth won at the weekend. They actually climbed a couple of places with that. So they are no longer bottom as they have been all season. It is now Sheffield United who are bottom of the championship. So they would, of course, go into the Northern Premier Division. So as it stands, there will not be a team relegated into the Southern Premier Division. Therefore, the team in 11th spot in the Southern Premier Division, which as it stands at the moment is Plymouth Argyle, would be offered a reprieve to stay in the Southern Premier Division. I would argue they would probably take that, since they are currently only 1 point away from safety. If Plymouth Argyle take that reprieve, then there will be no one going into South West, and therefore 11th in South West, currently Portishead Town, would be offered the same thing to keep it at 12. That, of course, could all change if, for example, there's a couple of wins in the Championship and Portsmouth go back to the bottom. Everything then flips. Stourbridge would be offered the chance to stay into Tier 3. If they take that, then the 11th spot in the Midlands, Solihull Moors, would be offered to stay in Tier 4. So it all depends on the geography of the teams in 11th spot. Could get very messy. So Plymouth could be down, could stay. Nobody really knows. The other thing that's going to be messy with this is if it comes down to the final day of the Championship season, that finishes the week after the end of the FAWNL season. Could we be in a situation, by the look of the way of the Championship very possibly, where teams finish the season in 11th and don't know if they are relegated or not? Could get very messy, could get very awkward, but I will leave that one with you to ponder. So yes, next week it is going to be a Friday show, and it's back on Switch Sport next week as well on Saturday on 5 o'clock. So in terms of coverage this weekend, Switch Sport on Sunday afternoon at Coronation Park for Notts County against Boldmere St Michael's. But for me, it's going to the Poundland Bescott Stadium in Walsall. Nottingham Forest against Stoke, live on BBC Radio Nottingham, 103.8 FM and 95.5 FM in the Nottingham area, digital radio and online around the country. I could be very smart to say around the world, really, if you wanted. But that from 3:30 kick-off, myself and the former Forest defender Charlotte Steggles bringing you all the action of that one right through, well, if Forest win anyway, to the trophy lift on Saturday afternoon. That'll do it for this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat then. Thank you very much for being with me. As I said, be back next week, usual time, usual place, for all the very latest. Will we have more relegations? Will Bournemouth or Real Bedford have claimed their respective titles? There is only one place to find out. This show at W Football Chat on Twitter as well, or X, or whatever you want to call it, for all of the results and tables right on the full-time whistle on Sunday afternoon. Thank you very much for watching this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat, and goodbye.